banana singing his song. All the little birds on Jaybird Street love to hear the robin go tweet, tweet, tweet.
The show to follow is with Mark Shelton and me. And Life is Good is usually just a show that talks about things for everyone's ears. But post-election, a lot of people aren't talking to each other. The basic and fundamental reason that Mark and I did this show was to tell you, encourage you, beg you to continue loving each other, no matter what your political stripe. The fact is, we're all born with pure souls. And during a lifetime, any lifetime, layer upon layer of ideologies, faiths, disbeliefs, ideas of every political stripe grow upon that soul. And this shell can be malleable, it can be porous, it can be acrylic shield, steel shield, impermeable. And what we would like to tell you on the following show is to open that shell up, no matter what stage it's in, and drop it. If you can look inside a person and see the soul they're born with 10, 20, 30, 50, 70, 80 years ago, then you'll see something that you have in common. And the whole premise of mediation in the world, and I'm a mediator, is to look for the common denominator, no matter what it might be, and build upon it. The common denominator for everybody who voted is that we are American. Second common denominator, we are human. Third common denominator, in most cases, we love this country. And what I'd like the fourth common denominator to be would be respect and love each other. As you know, Mark Shelton is a gospel singer and an Elvis impersonator, and he's a Christian. One of the first things I admitted to Mark, I am not a Christian. And you'd think that two people so diametrically opposed would have nothing to say to each other in agreement. But what we have in common, and why our conversations are so vastly important to me, is that we respect one another. In our conversations, I have been taught much. No one's trying to change the way I feel or believe. I don't know if Mark's ever learned anything from me, but I'm not going to try and change him. In this world, we walk different paths. Let's make the path we walk from now on be one of mutual respect, willingness to listen, and unconditional love. Enjoy the show. Thanks so much. Welcome to Life is Good. I'm Heather McEwen, your ever-loving hostess, and we have a treat for you today. It is the day after we have a new president. There's a lot of everything going on in everybody's mind, good, bad, and different, but we love everybody. And we are so fortunate to live in this country, no matter how you think, no matter what you believe, no matter who you like, no matter who you don't like. We still have America.
Amen.
And I have Mark Shelton. I can't believe he's talking to me on this little show.
It's kind of you.
So how are you today?
I'm fantastic. I mean, this is definitely a different day, but it doesn't really change that much other than here we go, let's see what happens. And there are people out there that are exceptionally happy, and there are people out there that are exceptionally nervous and scared and sad, but I would say this is the day the Lord hath made, and we will rejoice and be glad in it. The whole thing is just to live and support one another and understand where each other's coming from.
You're right, and I've been on Facebook a little bit today encouraging my friends to continue loving each other, supporting one another, sticking together, and no matter what side, and it's a shame we have to say side, because we have to come to the middle. And it might be difficult, but we have to shake off the ego. We have to shake off, I'm right, you're right, I'm wrong, you're wrong. We have to come together and say, we live in this country,
Right.
And wasting a day in anger doesn't move us forward.
Right.
Wasting a day in resentment doesn't move us forward. And you've taught me a lot about that. What we were talking today, and you were saying something about the 24-hour period that we can use any way we want to, and can you lead me forward in that sentence?
Well, it goes back to, here we are this very, very day.
Yeah.
And again, there are people that are celebrating and having a good time, and there are people that are very, very sad and nervous and covered in fear. But it doesn't change this day for us and our productivity in this day of helping one another out, supporting one another, loving one another, serving one another, being good examples of one another. You can celebrate, you can be sad, and understand that this is just a process. When we're talking about the us and them, we are us. We are a people. It's okay to be different. There are 400 species of hummingbirds. And I've said this to you before, but and I say it to everybody, some people like crunchy peanut butter, some people like smoothie. It doesn't make us enemies. But the divisiveness is what we have to stand against.
You're right.
Because the division takes away your power if you jump into one of the boats, okay? But if you just celebrate our differences, celebrate our differences of opinions, celebrate who we are as a people, we can be so much more enriched versus in fear.
You're right. And you were talking about fear and what it does to a society.
Yeah. Fear, well, fear is the enemy, and what do we get? There's no one to fear but fear itself, and I don't know, I'm just going to talk to her right now. I was trying to figure out what to put on Facebook this morning, because no matter what you put on, you're either supporting or not supporting, and someone's going to throw something at you without your opinion. So I was going to put a picture of Martin Luther King at the Washington Mall, you know, and say this is what we support. We support unity, and so here we are. We're going to go through a transition. That's America. Go with your conviction, and try to understand that people right now are just on a euphoric, one way or the other kind of response. Some people are very, 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 very afraid, and some people are very, very, very happy. And our job doesn't change.
That's one thing that struck me when we were talking earlier. As individuals, if you're used to doing something for people, if you're used to being positive, that should not change in any regard, no matter what take you have on what's just happened. You live your life as best you can, and you help your neighbor. And there's not much that can destroy this country if we all do that. When we were out for our walk, a big pickup truck went by with an American flag. Well, 3 cheers. He loves the country, and he can drive. You know, that's so already we have something in common. Well, maybe not. I'm not a good driver, but maybe he isn't either. But there's always a common denominator.
Okay.
And if we all search for the common denominator, which can be as basic as this country, then we have something to stand.
Right. To love each other, and it was a big white and blue Trump flag, and he was very, very happy as he was.
Oh, I didn't see the flag. It wasn't an American flag?
No, it was a Trump flag, but he was celebrating, just not unlike the soccer teams from Italy and Germany and all the places that they play soccer, and that's a huge, huge thing. And when you win, you're ecstatic, and when you lose, you're not, right? But we're still the same people, and it was to say, well, celebrate with the people that are having a good time. This is a little bit deeper, and there is a grieving process. And I would, for people that are feeling that their side didn't win, so if you're on the side that did win and your candidate won, cool. just be sensitive to the people that are grieving because they think they lost a whole lot. The same way that 4 years ago, the other side that won this time did not win, and then you saw the reaction. These are the things that
You're saying that Biden did win.
way back when.
Yeah, well, 4 years ago, Biden won.
Right. And we had.
And apparently we had a little bad sportsmanship after that.
Bad sportsmanship is a nice way of lack of crowd control. However the case may be. But you saw the reaction.
Yeah.
And those are just one of the things that I think that are problematic in this is that we forget we are still one people. We are one world. We are all on the world, and we can go a whole lot of places when it comes to taking care of not just your neighbors, which you should, but taking care of your environment, which you should, taking care of the various species in the air, all that kind of stuff we should be doing out of love for the very life that we're given, okay? Fear is the enemy, and the opposite of fear is love. Our job is to love each other and take care of each other. Our job is to make sure that there is nothing out there that is greater than the compassion that we have for taking care of one another to survive. This nation, I believe, the United States of America, and this world will survive, okay? And it may be better. I don't know what holds tomorrow. I just know that today, unexpectedly, I'm on this camera with you. Okay, and I know that today there are people out there that I will meet who will help me, and I hope to help them, and that's what we're supposed to do. That's the counter of fear is love, and I would say service. You do this all the time. You help people. There are many people, and focus on that. And if you're a person that's celebrating, great. Just have an understanding of the grief and sadness of others. And if you're grieving, this too shall pass.
That's something I wanted to bring up. Quite often I've heard you say, this too shall pass. And it can be as quickly as the blood stopped running down my leg when I don't know how I cut myself 2 minutes ago, but this too shall pass, and the pain goes away. And scar tissue can sometimes be much stronger than an intact, uninjured tissue. So, in every single election, there are winners and people who don't win. But I don't think there are any losers except the people who didn't vote. And I think a lot of people voted this year. That was fantastic. I think we had a great turnout. And no matter who you have not supported or who you have supported, like Mark says, we're one nation, and under God, or whoever you worship, under whatever you worship, indivisible. And how often have I felt that we've been divided in the last few years?
Yeah. And now with the conspiracy theories out there, division empowers the people that are in control, whoever they may be.
Divided we fall.
Yeah, and that's what we do, and you're fed that constantly through the social media, and also through the media that used to be called television, right? And you're fed that, and why? And it's not a conspiracy. Just look around. Just look. And for the people out there, I would say that didn't know how to vote and didn't vote. You can understand that because
it's a very frustrating.
Well,
2 years.
I hear the lesser of two evils. Okay.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Well, why? If I'm going to vote for the lesser of two evils, why? That's not who I am. I don't want to vote for evil at all. Okay. I want a different choice. I'm not given a choice. So what's my choice? To have my name checked on that I supported this side, which I think is absolutely horrid, or I voted for this side, which I think is absolutely horrid. Okay. So there's groups of people that I can understand completely why they said, I can't be part of this because my morality just doesn't allow me to support any one of these.
Okay, I've been speaking to people for the last year who have said to me, it doesn't matter. It's not in my purview. I will never have any power. I'm just one vote. I don't care. It's all finished anyway. And I'm an optimist. I can't believe that it's all finished. And if it's finished the way we knew it, then we must survive as individuals and help each other, as I always say. But if you're not involved, you've just told me that that's forgivable. It would be if the people who aren't voting started to run their own candidate.
Right.
Everybody should use their voice. And there's a great saying, speak even if your voice shakes, or even, I misquoted, but that's what it says. And so many people speak to me who would never speak out. So I'm really glad you came today, because you're willing to speak out, but that's your thing.
I didn't know I had a thing.
You do. I've watched you speak to thousands of people, and they all leave feeling a little elevated. It's a power of positive speech. It's a power of encouragement. It's a power of saying that love is the answer. Because we forget that sometimes, and we have to be reminded, and especially now, we have to be reminded that love is the answer. No matter how you're feeling the day after the election, if you won, love thy neighbor. If you have lost, love thy neighbor.
It doesn't change. The world's environment may change, but we go through that all the time.
Yeah.
And it doesn't, whether you win or lose or don't vote or whatever the case may be, you still have a mission while you're here. And your mission is to take care of the people around you. Your mission is to serve, help, be kind. Your mission is to speak positive. Your mission is to communicate. Your mission is to let your voice be heard. But at the last second, you've let a whole lot of time go by. Let your voice be heard today. Okay? Let your voice be heard tomorrow. If you didn't like this thing or you didn't like that thing, then speak. Okay? And don't be shut down. Just speak. But at the same time, be respectful and kind. And I think that the fear and the we're number one kind of thing, which is, yay, woohoo, that's cool, we are the champions, is fine. But the villainization of those that don't have your opinion is another access of evil that we should cast away. And remember that everybody is our neighbor. And our job our responsibility is to love and build a community. And having different opinions is a beautiful thing.
Right. In the last decade or so, politics has been the wedge that has separated the people in this country, instead of bringing us together under one flag, under one creed. So it's not like I respect politics at all at this moment, either side. But at least some of them are still trying.
Mm-hmm.
And I think Vermont is a very, very special place politically. I can speak to anybody from any party and feel respected and heard. And it's not as easy to get a politician on my couch these days because they're all out talking to larger audiences.
Right. And they have an agenda.
Yeah.
And that agenda is a lot of times party first. And
oh, not our governor.
No, I love
our governor.
I've had a few sessions and times with Governor Scott, and very, 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 very precious memories to me.
He's a good man.
Yeah.
And I've got to say, in Vermont politics, we have good men and women. Even the people who are running against the good women and men who are in politics now, they're all good.
Yeah.
And it's really hard to choose when you live in Vermont because basically they're not out for the buck.
Right.
And because we don't have many.
Well, now we talk about the communication being love.
Yep.
And operating in that love and forgiveness and understanding and having compassion for people. The political thing, I'm hesitantly going to say that this country has lost this country focus, at least in the politics, and now it becomes our party over our country. Okay, and we will do anything we can that our party be involved, at least from somebody that sits in the back of politics watching what I see. It breaks my heart because you see things, good ideas being canceled because that good idea would help the other party, and we can't have that. That is another axis of evil. Okay, we are to take care of each other as people, for the benefit of the people, not for the benefit of our party
Or our ego.
right? And that's one of those things, and there's a lot of hopelessness in this country that has grown in the last 20 years, maybe, certainly in the last 10, certainly in the last this election cycle, okay? And a lot of people don't believe it. That what we're seeing, I can't tell you how many times in the last 4 or 5 months, people have looked at me and said, "This isn't real. This can't be real. What I'm watching can't be real."
I've heard that too.
Okay? Because it just doesn't make sense.
It's a lot of disrespect at high levels.
Yeah. And here we are. I'd rather hear, we're talking politics, forgive me. I'd rather hear about what you're going to do, okay, versus why I shouldn't vote for them. I don't want why I should.
Bringing the positivity back into it. Bringing each of us, each of you watching this, has power. You have a tremendous amount of power. Why? Because we live freely. We still have a First Amendment. We still have ears, we still have eyes, and we still have all our other senses as a nation. So far. So this would be the time where to be individually strong and individually upright and keep our ears open and embrace one another and listen. And then I know we all have differences morally and how we feel about how children should be raised, or how we feel how elderly people should be treated, or any of the other myriad things, how money should be spent, that's a big one. How to fund schools, how to do this, how to do that, that's all complicated. When it boils right down to you and me, as citizens, we haven't lost that ability to be a citizen.
Mm-hmm.
Touch wood. And
become involved.
Yeah, and that doesn't mean you have to write editorials or preach or, stand on a stool in the middle of a park and scream, or carry a flag of any kind. Talk to people you bump into, and then when they seem to be pushing back, say, well, what do you think? Start the dialogue. Find a common denominator. It exists. Yeah. It did 20 years ago, 30 years ago. It did in my lifetime.
Well, to receive people, right? Exactly. The communication, if I just talk, then we're not communicating. I'm a radio, and you're just receiving. Communication is 2 people or 3 people or however, people listening to each other and understanding what each other is coming from. We could have a disagreement, which is fine. I don't think disagreements are bad. I think these disagreements can actually encourage growth and make things better. But to villainize one another because, I like to wear this particular football team shirt versus that particular football team shirt. But those are the things. Yeah. And it's so funny because we find a way and maybe some anthropologists can help me with this, but we find a way to look at our differences as conflicts versus growth. It's true. Evolution is such a wonderful thing. And, I hope to live another 70 years, 80 years maybe.
Because I want to see how this turns out.
Yeah, I'm going to trust that everything's going to work out. I look at God and say thank you. I have everything that's happening we'll deal with, but it doesn't change the basic mission of being kind and uplifting and loving one another. Wherever that person may be, in your grocery store, in your bank teller, wherever you may go, to be kind and find a way to lift people up, find a way to encourage people, and understand that there's a power in your words. And if you say, well, I don't know about the power of my words, you just went through an election cycle, and all you heard were words. There are powers in words, but from a fundamental level, those are there. But from a fundamental level, be nice to each other, kind, be uplifting, we see this all the time with children. If you say something nice to a child, or to a spouse, or to anybody, you see them lift. Mm-hmm. If you say something cruel to a child, or to a spouse, or a partner, however the case you want to be, you could destroy that person forever.
Yeah, and it takes a long time to heal from that.
And why? And then people, like all of us, hold on to things that should have been gone long ago, and because they identify with something someone did or someone said to them, when what they said or did, that person is cruel and manipulative to put you down, or don't receive that. I know it's hard, but know that you are loved, and we show that love to one another. That's the whole piece. Forgiving one another, letting each other have our differences. One of the things I was thinking about this morning when people were talking to me about what do I do, right? And is that, and I think I said this to you earlier, and it's scriptural, but think about it. Render unto Caesar what is Caesar's, and render unto God what is God's. And God is love. And God is a permanent entity in all of existence, beyond existence. And the definition that this spiritual entity of God defines himself as, itself, whatever you want to say. Get off whatever you got in your head. Whatever God said is love.
Yep, and it doesn't even have to be defined or given a name if it's felt. And people say I'm the cockeyed optimist. I got it at JetBlue too. How can you be so happy on a flight? Every flight. And I said, well, they know I love them, so they love me back. It's pretty self-serving, actually. But every single person on every single flight had a special essence that I could see and feel and love. And I will never see you again, but I love you. And as they were leaving, it was the big hugs, 159 right. Hugs. And it was a beautiful experience. I miss that because, to tell you the truth, I'd be arrested if I went down Main Street and grabbed everybody and said, I really just need a hug right now. But on a plane, you don't have to do that because you have that either 38 to 6 hour flight to get to know these people and give them and serve them. And I'm born to be a servant. Yeah. The happiest I am is spilling coffee on someone at 35,000 feet. And I can do that too. Yeah. Sorry. But we had this opportunity to interact the way most people who are passing each other on the street cannot. And it was so fulfilling. It was holy. And every time I was number one on a crew in which I had to organize them and give them the feedback that they wanted or needed, and they had to tell me what they needed. And I could boss people around in the cockpit to tell them that we needed, please turn up the heat, please turn down the heat. No, but I would tell them, if you want to have a great 4-day trip and leave just as energized at the end of the 4 days, or at the end of a 1-day trip, you've got to give as much love as you've got, and you've got to look for an atom of something good in each passenger, because they'll know you're looking at the good, and they'll give it back. Because maybe you're the only person in their life, in their whole life, who has ever seen good in them. And it's a gift, it's a calling, and it's servitude. But the payback is watching their eyes light up when they know you see the goodness in them.
And the change that they may have because of that in
And
their life.
I had change every day. And so that's what we have to do in this political situation, in this environment that's been created by all of us. We owe no one any blame for any of this, because we've all been a part of it. When they say, how can that be happening? Is this real? It's our reality. And we create our own beauty or our own hell. So look for the good in every single person, no matter what their political stripe, and that love will, if not be given right back to you, will be passed on to the next person, a ripple effect.
And find a way to recognize it and identify that and give them the understanding that you see that goodness in them. So that, because so many people are beaten down, and show them that they have value, show them, and there's a lot of stuff. We can go forever on the conversation when it comes to the hurdles that people have to go through. And they do, and we all have it. But the bottom line is that we can make that change by encouraging and recognizing one each other and pointing it out and celebrating it.
You have good in you.
Yeah, and use it, and you can do that for others. And you know, and it's basically we already have these lessons. You've been learning these lessons your entire life. Okay, about being nice, saying good things, being positive, becoming involved. If you are one of the people that are celebrating today, awesome, 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 and still find ways to be kind to each other and celebrate that, and sensitive. If you're to others that technically in their minds didn't win.
In other words, don't gloat.
Yeah.
If I won an election,
Be happy.
If my candidate had won, I wouldn't, I don't know what I'd do, but it wouldn't be mean.
It can't be, and if you.
It would be respectful.
Yeah.
And it's another thing that is lost in this election cycle by all sides is the respect.
Yeah.
I mean, but we're bigger than that. We're better than that. Haven't we proven that over the last 300, 400 years? The average life of a democracy is 400 years, I believe.
I didn't know that.
And it's usually brought down by greed and ego. And I believe we see greed every day. Even in small doses, we see greed. But we also see great things. And great things. I mean, no matter where you are, if you walk through just Newport or Derby or Morgan or Holland, you're going to bump into people who are darn good and nice to each other.
Most of the people, I mean, everybody's got good stuff.
Yeah, and we forget that when we become electoral. When we choose a side, we lose everything.
Us and that, right. Well, when we talk about being good and how easy it is and how sad it is, I've had the blessing of being able to do a little traveling in various places, okay?
Are you kidding? You're
And-
all over the blinking world.
And
And he was a professional wrestler, honest to God. He could probably take me on. And continue.
no, it's all right. You always try to be nice, but you know, breathing is important, but that's a whole nother practice. Learn how to breathe. Deep breaths are very, very powerful.
Every man and woman in the world should take a Lamaze class.
Okay, it's a very, and breathing is important. And I was at a place where, an island, where very, 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 I was singing, and there were very, very, very affluent people. And I went into one of these cafes, and there was a girl there, and she was behind the counter, and I'm just being me. I'm just going, well, thank you very much. It's a beautiful necklace. Thank you. How are you going? And she looks at me and she goes, well, you're so nice. I'm like, I'm not, I don't think it's wrong. I'm not nice. I'm just saying the obvious.
You're being civil.
Right? And now this is a, you know, affluent place. She goes, you have no idea how just mean and rude and people just throw things down and all that kind of stuff. I'm like, well, I'm not that kind of guy, so thank you very much. And I took my sandwich and left. And how that changes, and you recognize, oh my God, are you serious? And then this year, I was down in Key, New Hampshire, and I was doing a concert at a very cool venue, and it's the gazebo, and the gazebo is in the center of town, and all around the town is the road, and all the buildings and the shops are around the gazebo, around the road. Very, very cool, very nice setup, right? And I think I was asked at this point to do a gospel concert, except my gospel concerts go all over the board, you know, and various types of music, and there are people that come there, and the music is playing all over the place, and I'm handing out prizes, you know, for people participating, because I buy people's love, and.
Well, if it works, I'm gonna go and get myself $10 and pass it to somebody on Main Street.
Well, there you go, that kind of stuff, but over here, like, I'm not singing this way and that way, right? And over there was a group of people, and they were like partying fur, as we say, and they were what you would consider, well, we don't want these people here, right? But I'm singing, I don't care, I'm glad people listen, and I watched over, and there was a competition I was doing, and I think it was fiddling or something like that, and one of the guys over there was fiddling, just doing his little air fiddle, and truthfully, I thought he did better than anybody else who'd tried. And so when I handed out the prize, I'm looking for that guy over there, which freaked him out and all his people, because these guys were, you know, they're the guys that probably don't have, you know, residences and things of that sort. And this guy came up, couldn't believe that he had been called up, couldn't believe he was seen and recognized for doing, right? And they just thought they were playing around. And I gave him his prize, and he came talking to me a bit later. And then several weeks later, and that was it. Boom, 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 you know, just love, right? And then a few weeks later, I'm hearing how that simple act of recognition, and no credit on me, I'll give it all to God, right? But that simple act of recognition that you are good. 2 or 3 weeks later, maybe even a month later, somebody that was there said, do you know what happened to that guy? He started bringing people to other places, and now this guy is getting a home, and his life has changed. I didn't do anything other than you recognize people and you celebrate their lives, especially if they're working for it, versus, well, I can't talk to this guy. We talk to everybody. If you're disappointed, then become involved. If you are happy, stay involved or become involved. If you want change, become involved. Your voice does mean something. And you say, well, I can't reach up there. You'll get there by starting here. You get there by being kind to your neighbor, by having a voice and sharing that love, service, compassion, and then resist the temptation of saying it doesn't matter.
Everything matters.
So just,
The ripple effect. A very wise woman said it in a different way. Her name was Martha, and she's kind of my spiritual guru for years. She was so wise. Martha Moore Stevens. And she ended up, after starting to teach in my kitchen in Tulsa, Oklahoma, she went worldwide, nationwide, worldwide actually. And just great, but she was talking always about the ripple effect of a pebble thrown in the center of a lake. That pebble doesn't expect to see the waves that hit the shore. It just knows they will.
mm-hmm.
So when you perform an act of kindness, or just respect, or just acceptance, or you hear somebody or see somebody, they might not even register at that moment, or even that day, that somebody did something nice for them. For instance, you did that for that gentleman. it will affect their lives in some way at some time if they have any cognitive ability at all, that somebody was once nice to them. I've had 2 compliments in my life that stuck with me. That mean more to me than anything. I've told you what they are. And they came out of the blue, and they have kept me going in times when I have felt very small. And, or times when I haven't felt happy. I can think back on the moment that this amazing, amazing African-American woman who, I'm not sure exactly how or what she did for a living, but man, she had spirit. She was amazing, and she complimented me. And there was such a wonderful respect on both sides that I've never really felt from anyone else at such a deep level, because it was so hard for her to come up and tell me what she did. But she sacrificed her pride to compliment this scrawny white woman on something that I barely deserved. And I'll carry that with me for the rest of my life, especially when I need to hear something nice, when I haven't for a while. So be nice. Say something. They say it, if this is for crime, if you see something, say something. How about turning that around? If you see something that is deserving of your positive say-so, if something that you think deserves your love or your kindness or your help, be that. See something, do something.
Right. And I think, again, we've had these lessons our entire life, which is, you see something, say something, be nice, be kind, say positive things, encourage one another. And if you have nothing nice to say, don't say it. Because there's no need. There's no need to tear people down, because we go back to the ego. Mm-hmm. Okay, there's no need to go over now. Oh, this is America. We got to. Our job is to help each other get through this path and existence of life. And I really want to, strongly advise and strongly suggest that we pay attention and recognize the power of our words, and to, as you point out, constantly and authentically lift people up, encourage people, and when it comes to the children and the people that are around us, just understand how malleable they are, how influenced they are by you, whoever you may be, because you're an outside person recognizing them, identifying them as something. So identify them as worthy and lovable and valuable, and encourage them to do the same, and we'll see that change. As far as
a whole generation.
Right, exactly. And as far as politics go, have a good time, and
they're temporary.
Yeah, and just go and celebrate and celebrate your life, and go do good things for people.
Yep. And that's how we're going to close the show. And I'll tell you something, folks. There's so many good people doing great things here in Newport, all over Northeast Kingdom, all over Vermont, and all over the world. But we don't always see it. Look for it.
Amen.
Amen. Thank you very much to Mark, Shelton, and
I was just walking by.
It's amazing how I can drag people in here in front of the camera. I haven't asked, and you can say no, but if you had a song to sing, what would it be today?
We Are the World.
Well, We Are the World. Take that home and listen to it. So I guess you're not going to, but if you get a chance, Mark performs worldwide. And if ever you're in the country where he is, or the state, or the church, or any venue, check it out. You'll feel better. All my love. Stay positive. We're all in this together, even though it might not feel like it sometimes. I love you all. Mwah. Thanks for watching. Life is Good.